Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. Thanks to Robin for sharing the love here on the table. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. If you will please silence your electronics. And Zoom callers, if you were on, will you please mute yourself if you haven't already. If you don't, then it silences us on this end and you won't be able to hear us and we won't be able to hear you very well. I'd like to go ahead and get started by asking for approval of the minutes from the January meeting. Tom? Robin, second. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to move on to Charlene's report. We did not have any liaison reports from our liaisons to the bound from Asper, so we're taking that off of the agenda. And you're up. Thank you.
Well, any report right now has to start off with Girl on the Green. I'll let John give you the particulars, but I want to take a minute and just thank John and all of the staff that worked so hard to pull that all together. It was right down to the last minute getting permits, and it was just, I stopped by Sunday, took a few pictures, and everybody was having such a good time. So something we can all enjoy and be proud of. Thank you. The poolside pools and patio area. After the leak that we had at the fitness pool, the only ongoing problems with sealing the deck surrounding the poolside pool and the overall age of the pool and decking, we will be putting any work in the area on hold. John, Chris, and the Buildings and Grounds Committee are in the process of gathering information to determine the structural integrity of both the pool and the adjoining deck. Once this information has been gathered and a recommendation is made by Buildings and Grounds, this committee will pick up the mantle to move this project forward. My sharp bill will do.
Yes.
I also want to take this opportunity to thank the members of this committee. It has been a privilege to work alongside of them over the last year. They've worked tirelessly to advance the work of the master plan. The results of the last survey, which showed that there was no community support to build an administrative building, and that homeowners wanted the all-encompassing version of the master plan scaled back, made their job very difficult, but they persevered. Achieving a successful end result means that things need to be done in the proper sequence. The project process defines that sequence. Later in this meeting, the committee will request board action to move 2 of the 3 items in master plan phase 2 forward. The scope of work for each of these 2 projects has been refined through homeowner focus groups. With the scope of the work better defined, we now have the information we need to establish a cost range for each product. This committee has been criticized for not putting a cost to these projects in advance. To have done that without the detail we now have would have been pure speculation. There is another element that will play into the funding of the master plan projects. Some of the projects include replacement of items that are already in the reserve fund. The furniture at poolside is an example. Stephanie and I will be meeting with Ann Burbank, our board treasurer, Dale Goodwin, the chair of the finance committee, and Mike Partridge, the chair of the reserve fund subcommittee, next week to make sure this committee has a clear understanding as to the proper allocation of reserve funds for current master plan projects as well as future master plan projects. This will be an important piece of information as funding options are considered. This is what good committee work looks like. It's not easy. It doesn't happen as quickly as we would all like, but the end result is worth it. The proof of that is the Girl on the Green project. My final comment, I recently seen members of this committee and some of the homeowners who participated in the focus groups disparaged on different social media platforms. This is absolutely disgusting. Committee members and any homeowners who step up to help this community should be off limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Shar. Appreciate that. John, you're up.
Thank you very much. Charlene, thanks for your kind words. About Grill on the Green. This has been great. What a great project. What a success story. Working with the board of directors, working with all of the committees, working in the project process, getting input from homeowners. I can remember there's several meetings we had down there to pull it all together, working with the management team. It turned out great. It certainly exceeded my expectations. And if you haven't been in there and you recall what it used to be, this is night and day. It's a very special place. I'm really proud of our entire association for supporting it, funding it, helping us work through it all and coming up with a great finished product. The Super Bowl Sunday was a great success, had 150 people there. If you're a Kansas City fan, it was even better. But Chef Wade did a great job. The service team did a good job. Carla's working her tail off down there, so it's going really well. Just as a reminder, we have an opening event, two of them, one this Friday and Saturday. I think the tickets may already be gone. 200 people a night, just to introduce them. We're going to be handing out some hors d'oeuvres and cash bar. We'll have some live entertainment. So I'm thinking folks who haven't been down there are going to come down there and take a peek. So we're excited about that. So thank you, everyone. Great job. Really proud of that. Back to the pool thing, I did meet Charlene with another geotechnician today, an engineer. He's going to give us a proposal on the coring, so I'll wait to hear back from him. And then also, as you know, Mark Helmer from California Pools, we met with. I was able to send him the conceptual designs and the original drawings, so he'll be able to pull out some sort of an estimate and some design out of that, and then we'll have something to work with. He won't go until we get that testing done, but that's where we're at with that. That's my report.
Super, thank you. We're excited about Grill on the Green finally getting opened up and having another venue over there, so that's terrific. Okay, typically I do not have a chair's report. I do today, and I'm going to read it like Char, so that I go up correct. Charlene kind of hit on this a little bit ago when she talked about social media attacking certain people. That is totally disgusting and just flat out wrong. And I want to kind of set the record straight on some things today. So I'm going to read my comment and give a little bit of an accurate history here. I'm very proud of each one of you that serves on this master planning committee. You've given tireless time and energy putting your work into the good of Iron Oaks. Master planning has been in existence now for 13 years. This committee, over the past 3 years, has taken the master plan further than at any other time, because no one in the past, including this committee here, has had the expertise to execute a professional and viable master plan. Prior committees have done great work over the last years, but a review of the minutes will show that no plan ever came forward. We have advanced the plan. In large part, that is due to the board and the management's foresight. And secondly, it's due to the McMahon Group expertise, without which none of this would have happened. As a result, we're on the threshold providing what most homeowners have said that they would want. Over 2/3 of the Iron Oaks homeowners participated in the McMahon survey. They were given a voice, not once, but twice, in the first and second survey, plus in the homeowner meetings. Homeowners said they wanted a phased-in approach, 33% over a 2 to 3 year period, and 38% said do the highest priority in the next 2 to 3 years and do the others later. 71% wanted to move forward now. Only 29% did not want to move forward in the next two to 3 years. The 3 strong mandates were pools, poolside, and fitness center, all of which we are addressing. Ironwood Grill on the Green was placed under the master plan where it belongs. It had previously been approved, and it gave us the opportunity to prove an on-time and on-budget project. 65 to 70% were willing to pay some amount to fund the projects, an overwhelming majority. 30% in survey 2 said they would support doubling the face fund. When presented well, an overwhelming 70% voted in favor, and it recently passed. It is important to note that we did put together a master plan. We sent it to the homeowners based on their input in the surveys. It was the work of this committee, management, and the current board members that worked behind the scenes for tireless hours to put together a well thought out plan that was presented to and met the desires of a large percentage of Iron Oaks homeowners. It was explained at homeowner meetings with McMahon Group that to wait and do things in a phased-in approach would result in a longer period of time for some to enjoy the amenities and a higher cost. And yet that's what the homeowners expressed. We listened and we spent our time since then revising the projects, completing Grill on the Green this month. Next on the list is pickleball lights, and we are well underway with the next phase being the patio pro shop extension, poolside and pools, which we'll be talking more about later on in the meeting today. So we are not slow and inept to proceed with the plans as a minor group report on their private Facebook page, a page that was stated to be a genuine voice for all homeowners, but is proving to be a personal bashing and campaign site for a select few. We minions are working within the framework of what homeowners have asked for. Our work has been done with transparency and inclusiveness with the homeowners. Some say we need more homeowner involvement and input. And yet we have had 2 surveys, provided an email for homeowners to get their questions answered. We had over 100 and we answered every single one of them. We held small focus groups, homeowner meetings, and we sent out information in civil and through the unit captains. We had great participation and feedback that will change the scope of work to what the homeowners want. Tell me how we can get more homeowner input. Ironically, an incorrect statement being floated out there is that we as master planning do not care about the funding. We want to plan first. Someone said you don't go look for a car and then see how much money you have. You count your money and then go look for a car. Well, I suppose some might do that, but it isn't a strategy that most use today. I suppose that we could assess people $1,500, and once we collect the money, we can figure out what we want to spend it on. The pay-as-you-go idea will result in one thing. Most current homeowners will never see any finished product, and our amenities will continue to deteriorate. Funding is hugely important to the Master Planning Committee. The homeowners have made it abundantly clear that they want accurate information, which is also what we want. A contractor cannot begin to accurately cost a blueprint that does not exist. We are building the blueprint now. Tom will talk more about this in the strategic versus master plan. Recall the homeowner meetings that the McMahon Group conducted, which, by the way, were praised by a majority. Homeowners told us that the meetings were informative, succinct, and they left understanding the plan more so than ever before. Remember, in those meetings, our finance chair, Dale Goodwin, spoke to the funding and he gave multiple options to fund the entire plan. Homeowners told us that they appreciated the well thought out approach and understood exactly what their options were, so much so that they were willing to decide and move forward. Well, when things are done the correct way, the blueprint comes first. We did that in the first master plan. We're doing that in the phase 2 process. Architect renderings were done on pools and poolside with what we felt like the homeowners said they wanted. Then we held small focus group meetings. Those meetings were highly publicized. Multiple homeowners signed up to participate. Master Planning Committee did not filter or deny anyone who wanted to participate. About 50 people attended and many more sent emails giving us insightful feedback with what will help us develop the scope of work and create new drawings. The feedback has been shared with participants, unit captains, and published in civil. Another bit of inaccurate information floating out there is that master planning does not utilize the services of homeowners who have experience in certain areas. I would like to remind anyone who was here 6+ years ago that a retired homeowner was consulted and advice was taken regarding building the wall for pickleball and tennis noise. The decision to trust that homeowner's advice resulted in costing the homeowners a lot of money when the county required that that wall be taken down. It is just good governance to hire professionals that are up to date on county and state laws, that have the appropriate insurance and bonding, and have the most up-to-date standard in today's construction market. Now, the next logical step is to update the artist renderings based on the feedback we have received and continue to follow the project initiation process, which admittedly is lengthy, but that is the accountability the homeowners wanted to see. Part of that process will be, once again, scheduling homeowner meetings to present not only the new drawings, but also the financial options. And that, my friends, is the truth about the master planning process. We listen to homeowners in the surveys, those criticizing us or ignoring what most homeowners said they wanted. Any reference to nothing getting done is hogwash. I would encourage everyone to attend meetings and watch Civil for updates and not take to unreliable social media sites where limited people can post information, true or not. Now, let's roll up our sleeves and get back to our good work.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to old business and we're looking at the strategic plan. And I just want to say to Bob Miller and Mike Bush, a huge thank you to you guys who took the strategic plan that McMahon Group designed and have gone out to all of the committees and have updated that in a very thorough fashion. I emailed that to all of the master planning committee, and I am assuming that you read it before today. And we are going to open this up to questions that you might have of Bob or Mike. I know a couple things that come through on email that we need to update with the date and some other stuff. It does have some financial information that needs to come out that will be in the master plan, not in the strategic plan.
I would just like to say, Mike chime in, that this is a draft revision. And we've taken inputs from various committees and participants to try to make this strategic plan document current. And we need to have everybody buy in on that and agree that that's what they think it is. So our hope is that sometime in the very near term, we can actually have a workshop with the board and the master planning committee and actually talk through it. This is a big document. There's a lot of information there. And we just want to make sure everybody's on board with what we think, based on that input, the current plan is.
So I think just to add on to that, when we get started on this, one of the first walls we bumped up against is the strategic plan is much, much bigger than what our committee is responsible for. And there was a ton of stuff in here that we were not, I think Bob and I had no clue about, like what was going on in IT, for example. So one of the things that I think was very illuminating and I think very useful is to say, you know, from the perspective of the strategic plan, this is not a capital improvement plan. It's not what this is intended to be, right? This is really for the entire community. This is really a view of the entire community, not a view of our capital expenditures for the next 5 years. Okay, and so what we did was, if you look at this, and probably I'll point your attention to probably what I think is the meat of this document is the initiatives. Each of these initiatives has an owner, and if you look at each of the initiatives in here, from initiative 1 till I think it's initiative 6. Each one of them has a responsible person at the bottom. It's really important to understand that really is the group or the committee that's responsible for delivering of those items. Okay. And so what we did was we sent this out to all the responsible owners across the entire committee structure that we had. We sent it out to the IT group, we sent it out to finance, we sent it out to building and grounds, we sent it out to everybody. And they provided us what they believe is their strategy looking forward. And so this really now, I think, reflects much more than just master plan committee's opinion, which I think is key to this. Right? I think Bob and I were really trying to focus on how do we make this really community-wide and not master plan committee-wide. Right? This is bigger than that.
Well, that's a good point, because the strategic plan and the master plan is not just master planning, it's the entire campus. And
Exactly.
so you guys have done a great job of bringing in and making this a collaborative effort. So kudos to you on that. If there aren't any other questions, you can certainly send an email later if you think of something. But the next step is that we will be sending it over to the board for review. And as Bob pointed out, Mike and he and I will schedule a time with Charlene to come to a board workshop and explain it. Because it's a lot more detailed, but the HOA has never had a document that looked like this before. So thank you for your work. And I want to ask Tom now to,
I'd like to say one thing, and that is the document is, it shows all the revisions. So it is not all the deletions, all the changes are still there. They're just blue line. So when the board gets this, you'll be able to see what it was and what it is now. Once we've had it, and we will schedule time for them to come to a workshop where they can walk all the board members through it, so we have a good understanding before we actually approve it. And once that's done,
Yeah.
then it'll get cleaned up, and, they did a tremendous amount of work. This was a big, heavy lift.
This is a living document, so you can go back and see what the original was and what all the edits were, and then what the new, whatever, however we want to date that strategic plan is gonna reflect the entire community.
Yeah, and also from our committee's perspective, we will put on the calendar updating this on a yearly basis
Right.
prior to the seating of the next year's board.
Mhm.
Because I think, to Bob's point, this is essential. This is the document that the board really should be working from when they start to look at the vision for the community. And I, that's why I think it's super important that we review this with the board, we get their feedback so that it really represents, kind of the community-wide view.
Mhm.
And then, but it is a living document, so we'll take another run at it a year from now. And again, before we seat the next board, a year from now, we'll go through this again with the board and make sure that it still represents our path going forward. So I think that's key.
Absolutely.
All right,
Do
thank
you
you.
want to see on the schedule for the February, March board workshop?
Sooner rather than
Okay.
later.
But it's too late for February, but
Okay.
I'll have it scheduled for March.
I mean,
Okay,
it's just
now-
gonna be, we really want to kind of walk through this
Yeah.
by line.
You'll have that.
So it's gonna be.
She'll help if you need slides and everything.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Just a quick comment. First of all, I apologize. I brought my house remodeling folder along. So when our consultant meets with my wife in about a half an hour, they're gonna not have anything to look at. But the comment I have from reviewing the document, I read the document and it's I use the word what we need to do. I think the sensitivity I have is how, the funding between the reserve fund, between what really should come out of the yearly operating fund and what should come out of the face fund. Working with Charlene as we set up the face fund, that is truly geared towards new strategic items. And I just want to make sure that doesn't get mixed up and we don't consider the face fund a pot of money that we can use for any capital or any project we want to work on, okay?
Yeah, it's detailed in there and that's a good point. And we're actually having a meeting, later this week to talk about some of those things.
And if you have time later, I'm willing to go through our house remodeling project and spend hours.
The Iron Oaks project management, document also addresses what is proper and improper use of baseline money and reserve money. So it's addressed in this.
Okay. I read through some of the things, the reason I say that, I read through some of the things you're looking at down the line. And I sort of started to lean into what I call operating funds. And I just,
But we need your help and input on that. To help shape that. So that's why I said, again, this is a draft.
Well, and we really, to that point, we really tried to strive to remove, because this was considered to be strategic and not a day-to-day execution plan. We tried to remove anything to do with finances from the strategic plan
okay.
and try to keep it in the master plan because, to your point, right, it's a bit fluid
Yeah.
right now in terms of what's going to come from reserve fund or what's going to come from.
Can I have a minute on one other subject?
Okay.
Charlene brought up that it's important we look at what we need to do and not, say, what the dollars are at this point in time. Dale Goodwin's not here, but Dale and I spend a lot of time together. We've got formulas based upon any dollar amounts you bring up, how we can skim this cat. Speaking for, and I think I can because Dale and I have discussed this with his six CPAs on the finance committee and my background as a chief financial officer, I thoroughly agree with you. What we need to focus on is what we need to do. The idea that we come up with a dollar amount, $1,250,000 is the amount. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous approach. And I thoroughly agree with you. When you come up with amounts, we will show you a variety of options. We've got them all over the place. But we don't want to use that right now because we don't know the timing nor the amounts you're looking at. So I thoroughly agree with you. You have the right approach.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you all. Tom, I want you to talk a little bit about the difference between a strategic and a master plan because the strategic plan is almost done, will be reviewed with the board. We may have edits to do after we meet with them, but we are also tasked with and are going to begin working on the master plan. So why don't you give us the,
It's been, as been stated, it's been a long, hard road to get to this point where we are today with the strategic plan. And, as Becky has said, a big thanks to John for getting the McMahon group in here to get us to this point where we are today. And along the way, there's been a lot of, I don't know, misconception or misunderstanding of what is a strategic plan and what is a master plan. They are separate documents, but related initiatives throughout. And I just wanted to clarify some of the differences. The strategic plan is a directional document that identifies what the organization wants and needs. It includes things like mission and vision statements. And if you go through the strategic plan, you'll see those vision and mission statements. Recommended actions on top priority issues that need leadership attention. These items are mainly focused on leading the community and providing the experience the homeowners asked for in the surveys. The strategic plan also identifies the need for a facilities master plan, which is the roadmap for developing the physical plan the community needs to achieve its goals. So that's addressed in the master plan, the strategic plan, and we'll address the master plan later on. By spending time on the strategic plan, you are setting the context for why and what you recommend building in the next several years. For example, if health and wellness is a value, then you need a new fitness center. This becomes essential for achieving our mission. Generally, you put a time frame of 5 years on a strategic plan. As the external environment and homeowners change over time, then the plan should be revisited and clarify the direction for the next period. Those are some of the key highlights of the strategic plan. The next step that we're going to be faced with is the master plan. And the master plan identifies the facilities the community requires to support its mission. It includes the facilities roadmap, conceptual designs, budgets, and the amenity upgrades identified in the survey. The master plan has a 10 to 15 year timeline, but it depends on how more or how quickly or slowly you fund it. In most cases, it leads to initial phases, which we have identified on the prioritization list. A master plan delivers development and investment guidance for our assets. So those are some of the key identifiers for a strategic and a master plan. And I think if we follow those key points, we'll put together a good master plan. We got a good strategic plan, and now we just have to move on to the next phase, and that's the developing the master plan, which is the 10 to 15 year plan.
super, I think that's good. That is the method that we're going to use, the methodology for doing the master plan and strategic plan. It kind of goes back to homeowners that have expertise in certain things. They may have been at the top of their game in their career, but things change, and we see how rapidly things change today. There are some old school ways of doing strategic plans. As we pointed out, I talked with one homeowner about a year ago or whatever, and he was adamant that there was a different way and a better way to do it, and that was in his career about 15 years ago. So, we're looking at up-to-date information and trying to get this as succinct and easy to understand for homeowners as well as the current board. So, thank you, Tom. Okay.
Can I make a quick comment? And again, my experience may be old at this point in time also. When you survey the homeowners, what you wind up with is a want, not necessarily a need. And the reason I bring this up, we also may want to look at and make a priority of getting competitive data. That tells you a need. We found out initially that we were very uncompetitive with our restaurant, very uncompetitive with our physical facilities. The way we found that, well, the restaurant was obvious, but with the fitness center, we found that out by looking at competitors and talking to builders. So I think that needs to be in there. Sometimes you need to lead the homeowners because they tell them what some of the needs are versus what they want.
Okay, okay, moving into the new business, we've already talked about small group feedback. If you haven't seen that, it was in Stay in the Loop. So you can certainly access it there, or you can email one of us and we'll be happy to provide it. Phase two, next steps. I want to talk about that a little bit. For various reasons, we are not going to be able to do all three, poolside and the patio pro shop extension at one time. You've heard Charlene already and John talk about the pool. And we certainly don't want to throw good money after bad. And so until we know more about that, we're going to just let that play out how it does. So we want to break out the project initiation into three parts: 2A, 2B, and 2C. 2A will be the project initiation for the patio pro shop extension. That will be the easiest, the least expensive. And then we would do the second one would be poolside, and we're looking there at the interior only. Nothing on the exterior will be done until the pools are done, because that's all tied together. We don't want to do anything on the exterior that's going to have to be dug up or messed up or whatever. So those two right now, Tom is working on the project initiation forms. The reason we want to break them out, several reasons for that, but for transparency, for clarity, for ease of understanding of the homeowners, and it's just easier to cost and watch. I mean, everybody was watching the grill on the green, and were we on budget on that, and how was it tracked? It'll be easier if we track these separately. So we will do the project initiation form on those. So I would like a motion for somebody to state that we want to do these two project initiation forms in the form of an RBA to the board.
Before we do that, I got a question. We've already had on the golf extension, that has a project form, and it's through 3B, I think, 3A.
Lose any time. It'll come, the things that have been done will count for that, so we're not starting over.
Okay.
Okay,
One other question is the wall of the building that faces the pool. I think we have to have special attention paid to that, so that whatever we do on the inside, we have a good understanding of what the outside patio area will be.
okay,
So
right
we
now
have-
that, I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't matter in the project initiation. We're just filing new paperwork,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
And then we'll get into, I'll explain the rest of it.
Is your requested for a motion on that? We break it into three segments and
And right now, we send two of them, the 2A and 2B, as an RBA to the board.
I
so,
can send all three of them.
Go ahead and send all three.
Yeah, okay, just progress at a different pace.
Okay,
so moved.
Herb,
Second.
Robin, Denny, okay, you've got seconds and thirds here. Okay, great, thank you. The process on that, as I said, we're not going to lose any time or energy on what we've done. The small focus group feedback that we have is still there. We'll be working with John to get new drawings. If you don't know what the project process initiation is, it's on the website, and it is several pages. And for those that want to criticize taking a long time, and Grill on the Green was criticized, how come it took so long to get there? It's because the project initiation form is a lengthy process. But the homeowner said, we want accountability. We want to know how the money's being spent. If we go over, we want to know why. So this form was done by the master planning committee, like, I don't know, a couple, 3 years ago, and then recently revised. So it is
It was not done by this committee.
well, the master planning, David Jett on this committee and Stephanie were the ones that,
It was a task force from master planning.
Okay,
So it
No.
included buildings and grounds, finance,
master planning
master planning, and it was a
And 3 board members.
collaborative effort, but it
And-
was,
and 3 board members.
Yeah.
okay.
So it was a standalone. As a
Task force.
result of the, yeah, task force, correct. Okay, in any event, it is a multi-page form. If you go on the website and take a look at that, we go through on every project, and this is the case for Grill on the Green. This is the case for the phase 2 we've already gone through, but now we're going to break that out. We will not lose any of the things. Charlene said we're on like 2.
We're working on 3A and 3B right now.
step 3.
Step 3.
Yes. Okay, so in this project initiation form, for those of you that want to look at it, it clearly spells out when we go out for bids. So It's in there. You know, I mean, you can criticize all you want, but this document is what we use for projects. And it tells when we do what. What part is the master planning committee, what part is management, what part is the board, what part is building and grounds, what part is finance. It all works together. So I would encourage anybody to go on and download that form and look at it, because it is really a very good form that is used to keep us on track, on budget. So, Herb, we're just revising, those three.
About the form, this is new, having this process, but we've had people, particularly on Ann's, finance committee, that have expertise in this area. And it's, so the point I want to make, it's been looked at by professional people, that homeowners here, and it's got their solid approval. And while my experience is like 20 years old, I've had a chance to go through this, and I think it's an excellent document. The only criticism I have is I wish we'd have done this 10 years ago,
Yeah.
before we had board members that supposedly had expertise winging everything, and then we had to pick up the pieces.
Right. Okay, good point.
When we did do a communication, a summary of this process to the homeowners, I think last September, we did the 1 page.
Yes.
It was September. As a preview of what this process is going to be
right.
for other projects.
Should we recirculate that?
We can probably talk after. Okay.
Yeah, that's our, last item on the agenda, so I'm gonna talk about the communication for sure. So just to reiterate, on these 3 projects, we're following the project initiation here. And at the time that it comes up in this process, we will do homeowner meetings, we will have cost estimates, we will have the funding options, and we'll communicate that to the homeowners. So that's all coming, just in its time. Okay, moving on to the master plan project timeline. We have, several of us met, and you have this, I think, in front of you as well. We have looked at trying to put this in some kind of order timeline. And we go back and forth. So when does this really start? Does it start when the project initiation is done, which can be now on pools, but pools may not be done for 2 years. I'm just using that as an example. So sometimes on things you may have seen 2023 to 2025, and that incorporates what was when we started the project initiation form. So what we've done on the form that you all have is try to break this out and target when certain things will start. So in phase 2, we've already said pickleball lights are next on the list, and that we expect to start the project in 2023, Q2. Again, these are target dates. Pro shop patio extension targeted to start construction in Q3, 2023, and be finished by the end of 2023. Poolside, targeting that to start Q1, 2024. And then we move into the fitness center. I'm sorry, I skipped the pools, to be determined. So we're waiting on the recommendations by building and grounds to the board. So we will update that as we know more information. Phase 3, we have identified as one of the top mandates by the homeowners was fitness center. We expect to start the focus groups Q4 of 2023. Fitness center targeted to start Q2 2025. Okay. Phase 4 is Rocky Knoll and the golf cart maintenance area. The maintenance area, John, is the area over here by the golf cart storage. Is that right? Where they work on the carts that don't have, stand out in the hot sun and all that good stuff. Okay. Targeting that to start Q1 2027. Now, we don't have scope of work for any of this at this point in time. We have scope of work for phase 2. As we get into focus groups on the others, we'll start scope of work, we'll start the drawings, we'll do it the same way. And then phase 5, conservation, we put down here charging stations. As we go along in the world we live in today, where electricity is becoming more the thing, there will probably be a need to look at having charging stations on property someplace. So other conservation efforts, we put that in here, is starting Q3 2027. Now, again, as has been pointed out, the strategic plan, is a living document. There may be other things that come up that are a need, beforehand. And so we'll just have to incorporate that in if that is the case. All of this will tie into finance and building and grounds, and we'll work with them to come up with numbers. And when we get ready to do the homeowner meetings, the final ones, we will have numbers for everybody at that particular point in time so that people know what they're getting. And ultimately, it is not master planning that decides what's going to happen. It is the homeowners. Because when we go out with those homeowner meetings and we give them the financing options, they're going to say yes or no. They're going to say, a lot of them have said, I want to write a check. I don't want financing. Okay, what's the majority saying? What kind of comment or comment are we getting back? So homeowners are always going to have the final say here. We're simply putting together a plan that's in accordance with what they said they wanted. Okay, any questions at all or comments or suggestions?
How long can I play the newbie card here?
As long as you need.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on a lot of what you described.
Okay,
So in phase 2 projects, those are already been initiated except for the pools, and they have a scope of work attached to them. And what you've got here is the start of construction of those dates. Is that correct?
no.
No,
Well,
project
pickleball light-
initiation.
Pickleball lights, yes, start construction Q2. The pro shop extension starting construction Q3. Poolside starting construction Q1. We've already done the work, we've done the drawings, we've done the focus groups. We will redo the drawings based on the feedback, and we'll continue going through the project process.
But those are construction start dates.
But so just because I think this is causing a lot of confusion.
That's why I'm-
Let's talk. I think it's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up in an email to me earlier today, because I think it's causing a lot of confusion.
Okay, let's.
One of the things that we did in the strategic plan was we defined under phase 2 where it says 2023-2025, we wrote a definition that says project initiation to project completion. I think we should stick with that. I think we should stick with that definition and try to tie things to the project process. So in other words, if we're going to create timelines and dates, those dates should align to the project process. And we should use the same terminology. This is at least the 4th time in a week I've had somebody come to me and say, I'm confused about what start means. So this is coming up again and again and again. I think we need to be consistent. There's project initiation, we do focus groups, we do drawings, we start construction, all of those things are all on a timeline that if Bob and I have our way, we're going to get some software, we're going to create a timeline, and we're going to create a Gantt chart so that we can see this. But I think it's really important that we use the right terminology, because I think this whole notion of start is really causing a lot of gas with homeowners. I know it confused me, it confused you, and I've had other people out, offline ask me the same question. So I think it's key that we just come up with a set of, I don't care how we do it, we just need to be consistent with how we do it.
Yeah, I think as long as we identify in our strategic plan and on any document we put out, as long as that's all consistent and the
Describe what date it is we're talking about.
yeah, and the date, the 2023 date is the date the process, the project initiation is submitted and the date we start that process.
Correct.
Okay.
And if it takes us 2 years for project initiation because of drawings and getting board approval, that's what it takes. I mean, and so some projects may take 5 years. Oh, okay, but that is the reality of how long it could take, because some things, like you said, a lot of things could get stalled. If we did a project initiation on the patio a year ago, it was in March a year ago, we did it. You're correct about that. So I mean, some of these things just get stalled because we're not ready to move forward with it to the next phase.
Right, the Gantt chart software, you can see that one.
Exactly.
It will say, start architectural drawings. And then as you go down, you'll see breakdown, start, you have estimated complete dates. And you can just look down the chart and see that level of detail.
So Bob's working with IT to get a license for that, so that we'll have official Gantt chart software. Yeah, Anita's working with Bob on this, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh, these guys are working on it, so this is going to be good, because I think, to Bob's point, I think if we present that, not just with a start date and an end date, but actually you know, a whole set of milestones along from the beginning to the end, it's going to become very clear to people what it is we're doing.
I'd like to see it, whatever we do, coincide with a strategic plan.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Whatever dates. we-
Absolutely.
We all in agreement?
Oh,
on that?
absolutely.
It's just an agile, visible tool that anybody can look at and get a clear picture.
Okay.
You don't have to be a project manager, you can look at it and it'll be crystal clear what's going on every one of these people.
Great.
I know you're trying to make it, easier to understand, but I strongly recommend, Becky, maybe one of our sessions, we just devote it to the project process manual. It's an excellent document. And I know we're not engineers and very few of us are CPAs, et cetera, but I think going through that and understanding, because again, I want to say it's an excellent document. And when you go through it and understand, it's, okay, I understand what we're doing, why and when, and,
No question, but it'll all be coordinated with that. But it just makes it visible. I'll bet you any amount of money, nobody's gonna read that, the project document of the finance committee.
I agree, but I'd like this group to understand, we're gonna get questions.
Agreed.
And I think, Becky, it's important that all of us understand that thing.
Totally.
Would you like me to put that on the agenda for next month?
Excellent.
Good,
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, and to your point, right? There are a lot of things we do long before we get the money to do them.
Yeah.
We'll spend a year doing focus groups and surveys and talking to homeowners and writing documents. But that should be part of our timeline because it is part of the project.
And I
Right?
think,
The project doesn't start when we break ground,
And that illustrates.
right? It starts long before, right?
That illustrates that front end work.
Right.
Illustrates to the community, it's being worked on. This isn't just some fantasy idea. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the front end before you bring the front loaders in and start digging.
Well, and I know last year we bumped into this when we tried to get funding to do drawings for poolside, which are called out in the project plan long before the board approves the project.
Right.
But yet everybody seemed to be surprised by the fact that we had to come up with some money to pay the architects to do drawings. That should have just been on our timeline and we should be able to, the finance folks should be able to look forward and say, oh, looks like in September, we're going to have to come up with, $10,000 to do some drawings because that's when the focus groups are going to happen, right? I mean, we should be able to have that timeline and then be able to look at that for our budget as well, even before the board approves the final funding for the project,
and I
right?
think it's more than this committee. I see several board members here. But I strongly recommend that building and grounds, finance, and every member on master planning, we, as a group, we need to really understand that document because questions are going to arise. Why is it taking so long? What are we doing here? What are we doing there? I'm pretty sure that finance has a strong understanding of it with building and grounds. To be honest, I think this is the committee that needs to get up to speed.
Okay,
One of the other.
the ones that
things I
don't
think
work with this, obviously,
that we should do is have a timeline for each, I don't know what it would be, maybe each quarter. We have a document available, which is just a summary, a high overview of where we are on this project plan process. So
We
that
have
the
that.
community can see.
We have that.
okay,
But I mean, that gets published.
We have
in a
that.
very summary form.
we have that coming. You talked about the Gantt chart. Why don't you explain that a little bit more? And he's talked with John about it. He's talked with Anita about it. It's $20 a month.
Correct.
Okay, and
About that, it's a lot.
Roughly, okay. it will track everything and it will be something that we can take and share with homeowners. You want to give an update a little bit? Do you work with these?
Well,
before?
I spoke with Anita this morning, so I can't really give you a solid thing, but John and I talked about this. I think Anita's going to help us execute that.
Talk about what it's going to do for us. Talk about how it's going to help homeowners and us.
It will show an extreme level of detail as you go down the chart by day, by week. So you can see all the work that's going in the front end. If this isn't just about breaking ground, there's a lot of stuff in the process that has to be accommodated. As Mike points out, for example, architectural drawings. We can't start a project without an architect. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise if we have to have architectural renderings to develop an actual plan on what we're going to do. So I think it will illustrate to everybody exactly what's going on in a level of detail that will make sense to everybody. It's not a complicated piece of software.
Okay,
And it's stuff we're already doing, it's putting it all in one place.
And allow, and not only that, but I think we then, in our monthly meeting, we pull that out and review it for the next month and make sure, so we're not surprised by, gee, we forgot about this focus group. We should have had that in the plan. That would appear as a deliverable on the Gantt chart for this team, right?
So it's more work going into it to get the information.
I think it's gonna be a lot of work going in,
But-
but we're gonna get a lot of,
Once
a
we
lot
get out
of
of it, it's taking all the work we have done and still do, putting it all in one place.
exactly.
So if we had that up here now, I heard myself, wait a minute, we need another 2 weeks to do this. We slide that to the right, everything adjusts cold.
It's taking out of our 3-ring binders and putting it in a central location.
Well, and I think the thing I was really concerned about is what did we forget? By not having it written down, we won't forget doing the focus group. We won't forget, it's gonna be there in front of us and we're gonna stare at it every month. And we're gonna know that, come June, we'll have to start focus groups for fitness center or whatever, right? Well, it'll be staring us and we'll start planning around it. It'll drive our agenda for this meeting on a monthly basis as well.
That's just another reason why building and grounds, finance and master planning have to work closely together. We have to have liaisons back and forth.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Looking at it independently, I'll tell you where a lot of this is going to be handled, right, not here, but in building and grounds. You got to have engineers looking at this stuff that understand, not bean counters like me or other people, but it's the idea that we work together, the three of us.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, good discussion.
The other benefit about implementing this, it may even become part of the project process, way to measure it. The other benefit is that working through the project process, there's a handoff from one group. This committee will work up to a certain point, then there's just a handoff over to management. And so as the process is being handed off, it's like football game. You're handing off football, you don't want to drop it. So it will give more clarity as to responsibilities when it moves from one committee to another. And there'll be committees working parallel with one another. Buildings and grounds and finance will be working along with master plan. They'll each have targeted responsibilities. But I think this will be very helpful for homeowners, for this committee, and for future project processes going forward. I think this is, I think you guys are.
I think it also helps us with any criticism we might get by homeowners that gee, you're asking us for extra money this year, and I'm surprised by that. It's like, no, we told you 3 years ago that we'd probably have to do a special assessment in 2025 or 2026 to do the fitness center, and it's right here on our timeline, right? And so we stop, we don't surprise people with a funding request, and everybody's not all wound up about, gee, we gave you money last year, where'd that go? Well, it should be very clear where it went, right? It went here and it went in this bucket, and you can see on this timeline what was delivered, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I hope we're doing, but maybe we are, and I'm not aware of it, but in a closed loop process, we've had a very successful project with Grill on the Green. Are we going back and looking at that process, what we did? What did we do right? What could we tweak a little bit next time? But just so that we have a closed loop on every project that we do, to go back and reassess what we did right and what we did wrong on each of those projects.
It's a
We may be doing that now, I don't know.
That's part of the process.
It is part of the process, right?
Here it is. Okay, it's part of the process here, and it's got all kinds of questions and places to take notes, what we did right, what we did wrong, how we can do better.
Right.
Okay. All right, good discussion. Thank you all for that. Last thing on the agenda this afternoon is communication of the master plan. We want to gear up now with the work we're doing, switching the 2A to B, 2C. We've got some updates on that. We've been sending out information through the unit captains and through civil. But Eric and Robin and Denny, I assume you want to stay on working with communication. We'll meet and start to work together on getting information out to the homeowners. If this Gantt chart gets up and working, that would be an ideal thing for you guys to utilize in getting information out. But we want to start that, get the information out, and stay in the loop on a fairly consistent basis. We don't want to send information out just for the sake of sending it out. When we have new stuff, we want to send that out. Today, we have quite a bit of new stuff. So that should give you enough content to go for a little while. Okay, anything else? Okay, our next meeting is March 14th. I can't believe we're into March already, especially looking at that weather out there today. Homeowner comments. We had some board members and some homeowners there. Anybody have a comment? Yes?
Quick question, at phase 5, the charging station, I think is a good idea. Is that gonna be for automobiles or is that gonna be for golf carts too?
You know, it could be for both. We just put that in there because thinking ahead to what might be coming down the road. So could certainly be for golf carts as
Just
well.
thinking, the green concept with the golf carts. and all,
Right.
So,
Okay, anybody else? Oh, sorry, Ann.
In response to that, I'm sure many of you in here know that there was an extremely comprehensive study done by Mike Partridge pertaining to looking at charging stations and solar and what have you. And because we would have to enter into a 20-year agreement with a third-party electrical company, the cost was absolutely prohibitive. And part of the conversation was with Eddie at the pro shop. And he said the charging stations, the amount of time, now new technology certainly might be better, but if you're locked into a 20-year agreement and there's a step up in rate every year, we figured out, he figured out, there's only 3 months out of the year it would have been profitable, period. And so the rest of it was done. But that the golf carts could not charge fast enough in order to keep up with the demand. And so those are certainly conceptual things that will need to be reviewed, discussed, what may be available at the time. There may be a whole new world of energy companies out there. We just don't know what the climate will be. But that study was done and published and posted on the website. So a great deal of work has already gone into that, which is why that was not advanced in our community. And this was done about, what, year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago?
Okay.
So just an FYI.
Yeah, no, good information. And as you said, technology is changing, as fast as we can blink. So it's something we can always revisit down the road. We're nowhere near ready for that. But anyway, there may be other ideas that come up between the two.
Becky, a possible misunderstanding. Somebody approached me and said a recommendation has been made that before we look at spending dollars on new stuff, we should focus on, spending dollars on maintaining and fixing what we have. And I know we have some people on Zoom, and I'd like to address that because there's a complete misunderstanding. Anything we put in this HOA is covered by a reserve fund. We have a solid position in our reserve fund so that as you look at these assets, in my opinion, we've done a fantastic job of making sure we have the funds available to fix those things. So the idea that we get $1 in, where do we spend it? Don't worry about, in my opinion, our maintaining the assets we have. That's the purpose of the reserve fund. Unfortunately, Ray, as we've talked in the past, there's just such a misunderstanding what the reserve fund's for, how we use it. But I can guarantee as a bean counter and having come off the finance committee, every asset we have is covered for repair and replacement, and that should not be a worry of a homeowner.
Okay, thank you for that. One other thing I wanted to go back to real quickly on the targeted prioritization of projects. Down at the bottom, there is something that says responsibility of management. There have been some things, the turf reduction, for example, the golf cart maintenance facility over on Champaign, office administration. Sooner or later, we're going to outgrow this place and we're going to need space in the clubhouse for homeowners. All of those things are under the auspices of management. Stone and barrel improvement, somebody brought that up. That would be funded, as it says here, through working capital and phase funds. So those are things, there are things that are in this area that are being addressed by management. Just because it's not in the master plan doesn't mean it's not being addressed. So I wanted to bring that up as well. Okay, any other homeowner comments? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move for adjournment.
Herb,
Second.
Bob, super.